Yes, thank you very much, Chairman, for inviting me here. Who am I is not really important, it's who I'm not really. I'm not a political scientist like many people here. I'm not a party political member. I was an immigrant. I'm back a few months now, and I'm here to tell you about ballotbox.ie. We started this up in 2011 when I was in Toronto. I lived there for about 2 years at the time. And it came to me and a couple of friends one day prior to the February election. We were sitting around a bar that one night, as Irish people do, and we were talking about the upcoming election. So many of my friends over there who had come with me or who I'd met, having followed them to Canada, hadn't been that very much interested in politics before. I found a palpable interest in what was happening back home. Obviously, it was one of the major elections of our time. A lot of my friends and the people I met over there felt that they'd been forced to leave the country because of what had happened and what had gone wrong. So obviously there was a different level of interest on that stage. So we talked about it for a while, and we came up with ballotbox.ie. We decided that there was enough people out there who may want to vote, and we felt there was a way to do it. So we built this website quickly. Within 2 or 3 days, we had a volunteer community of about 12 across the world, from Australia to Dublin. Software company run by Joe McCarthy, a presiding officer here in Dublin, who was setting up the software to count exactly how it would in the real election. So by the time the election came round, we had over, I'll go to the figures just right now if I can get this right. Apologies about the PowerPoint presentation, they can be quite boring. Actually, just on this note here, once we started publicising what we were doing, we wanted to get the word out there. Immediately we had media organisations across the world, especially in Canada, very interested in what we were doing, because they couldn't believe that we didn't have the votes. They were seeing more and more Irish people arrive, and we appeared in CBC, the National Post, Al Jazeera, being interviewed about, first off, what's happening back in your country, second off, why you don't have the vote. So there was a lot of interest in the actual idea and the need for it. And that was one of the things that we learned very quickly, was that most other countries had it, apart from, I think, Greece at the time. And we could see a strange connection between Ireland and Greece at the time. I think we all can now. So in terms of the actual stats, the interesting stats that we came up with, General election 2011. So obviously we opened a few weeks before the actual votes. There was two weeks before the vote, we had 154,000 people visit the site. As I said, the counting software was built and managed by a former presiding officer and a software developer, operating exactly how general election would work. We had 5,580 Irish immigrants in 124 different countries vote. They were voting exactly how you would see it here in a polling station, the exact same ballots, and the exact same, they picked their constituency, and these are the results. They're available on our website. So they were quite different in terms of Fianna Fáil. Obviously there was a different reception to Fianna Fáil for immigrants who had recently emigrated, and they only got 2 seats in that election as opposed to 20 in the real one. The Sinn Féin members here will be happy to see that there was 23 seats as opposed to 14 in the real election. So there was obviously, I think there's a younger community who were voting in this election, and maybe a little more left-leaning. Labour did well, Fine Gael didn't do as well, but all these results are available, as I said, on our website, so I can pass those details on afterwards. The 2011 presidential election was something that people came to us and asked, are you doing it for this? We're very interested in getting our votes across. And we did the same thing. We weren't actually planning to do it, but there was a demand there. You'll see around half the people voted in this election. And I think that goes to the point of what a lot of people are saying, and the interest in presidential election as opposed to general elections. We would have taken the case that it should be general elections, especially for those who plan to go back and who haven't been out of the country for more than 5 years. And these were the actual difference in the two results. There was a few different factors, like the frontline factor, because you'll see that in our poll, you'll see that David Norris actually did better. Michael D. Higgins' vote was pretty much the same. So there is similarities. This was, as I say, was a small number of 2,500. What I'll leave you with today is, this is from the Irish Times yesterday. One of the first reasons we came up with this was because we felt we were seeing the family, as Mary Lou talked about, asking what we can get from the diaspora. I'm one of the emigrants who've returned. I know plenty more who want to return to this country. You feel honoured to be an Irish person, and for that vote to be taken away, like, I think we should be encouraging people to return to this country with new ideas, new expectations of how a country should run, how a political system should run, and there's no better way to keep them connected than letting them retain the vote. And that's me. Thank you.